What's up, guys? Claire here with Claire Nutrition, here today to talk about a topic that is incredibly important to me and something that I can get really fired up about, and what I've really dedicated a lot of time and effort to getting people out of doing this one thing. And it all comes down to fad diets. Had a couple client calls this week and had a couple intakes from incoming clients. And something that I ask all of these oncoming clients, potential clients, is what are they doing now and is it working? And on my intake form, when I do have a new client, I do ask, what diets have you tried before? And a huge red flag is when I get a client that has said, they say, oh, I've tried keto, I've tried macros, I've tried intermittent fasting, I've tried Weight Watchers, I've tried Atkins, I did this, I did this, I did this. Or I'll hear one of the more common ones, and this one also is a huge red flag, is I tried Weight Watchers and it worked perfectly. I lost 20 pounds. Then I immediately gained it all back and I've never been able to lose it since by trying X, Y, and Z diets or restriction or anything like that, and nothing has ever worked. And this is bringing in the topic of diet hopping, which is something that so many people do. I am guilty of it. Before I found the actual nutrition coaching and approach that I use now, I hopped diet to diet, whether I was trying sugar-free or I was trying paleo or I was trying something else. And none of them really ever had a name. It was more like I was just trying to avoid sugar, I was trying to avoid sweets, or I was trying to avoid X, Y, and Z. And I would just go like a couple weeks or something, and then I would give up. So today's blog is going to be one, obviously a video, hence my face, but also it's going to be all about diet hopping. Why diet hopping is detrimental, not only to your weight loss success or whatever success it is that you're looking for, but also detrimental for your health, for your mindset, for your confidence in yourself, for so many things. Diet hopping is so damaging to all of those things. In terms of your confidence, it's damaging to your confidence because you're constantly going from diet to diet and you're never actually succeeding. So you're constantly building up a mindset of failure, of you failed at this diet, you failed at being able to eliminate sugar from your diet, you failed at eliminating carbs from your diet, you failed at keto because you couldn't go keto and you wanted to drink alcohol a little bit more, you failed at macros because you didn't know if you're on the right macros. And it's detrimental to your confidence, your mindset, everything. And then when you find a diet that actually works, you don't know actually how to pay attention to how do you know it's working? How much time should you give yourself to actually know it's working? The problem with fad diets is that advertisements and marketers have created a perfect marketing strategy of promoting a 6-week program or 8-week guaranteed whatever, or some 21-day cleanse or some 14-day fast or something that has a finite amount of time and it's guaranteeing success, and they have a couple testimonials that prove that they're perfect and their approach is the end-all be-all approach. On top of all of that, we've also got celebrities doing the same exact thing, and this has created the mindset that we can do things in 2 to 3 weeks and we can achieve things in 2 to 3 weeks. When it comes to our bodies and our nutrition, it takes a lot longer than that. But unfortunately, between marketing, advertisements, and celebrities, and the occasional person that responds really well, really quick, creates this kind of false sense of progress and success, and we buy into it. I myself am just as guilty as buying into it. Even now, knowing all that I know, when I'm on a cut and I'm not going and I'm not making this quickest progress as I want, I'm like, shit, I'm failing, or I need to try this instead, or I need to change this instead. And I've only given myself 2 to 3 weeks, and I've seen with a couple of clients, and I've seen in studies and everything like that, how long progress actually takes. And when you're doing the actual work that requires changing your nutrition, having a healthy nutrition plan and a sustainable nutrition plan, it takes a long time. And I don't work with kids, I work with adults, and adults are most of my clients are all above the age of like 25 or so. Most are in their 30s, which means that they've been dieting the same way since they were kids. And I'm changing years, like 20 to 30 years of dieting patterns. I can't expect to change it in 2 to 3 weeks, yet because of marketers, advertisements, celebrities, you name it, we have that mindset of go, 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 we want it all, and we are going to achieve it all, and we're going to have things immediately. Everything is always on the point of our fingertips, at our beck and call, and our nutrition is the same way. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, and if you've answered yes to any of them, or any of these apply to you, then keep watching this video, because it's going to apply to you, and it's gonna help you get out of the cycle of diet hopping and going diet to diet, and how to actually stop that cycle of diet hopping and get on a plan that actually works for you. So, have you ever been on a diet, whether it was the perfect diet for you or it's a terrible diet, just a diet? Have you ever been on a diet and you looked in the mirror and you saw that you weren't as lean and you gave up? Or you hopped on the scale and it was 2 pounds heavier and you gave up? Or someone made a comment like, you're looking a little thicker, or something like that. Maybe it was a family member or a stranger. People say some pretty shitty things I have discovered in what I do. And you gave up. So that's kind of scenario number one. Have you ever just hopped on the scale? Or have you ever just had this idea of, by 8 weeks, I'm gonna be at 10 pounds of weight lost. I'm gonna be at this weight, and you weren't. So you inadvertently gave up, changed plans. Or have you ever tried a plan that just didn't work? And so you're like, oh, well, I can't do this. Let me try something else. Have you ever just eliminated one food group, had it fail, and then gone back to a different plan or removed something else? Are you one of those people that goes from very restrictive diet to a binge, and you constantly, quote unquote, relapse in your diet? If any of these apply to you, then you are one of those people that falls into the diet hopping category, and someone who can benefit a lot from this video and can find an actual nutrition plan that is going to work for you for a long, sustainable time. Unfortunately, because of marketing, we have a lot of things in our mind that gets in the way of proper nutrition. Because of celebrities and advertisements and stuff like that, we get to hear a lot about the sexy things of nutrition, when the reality of nutrition is the boring stuff, is the stuff that works. In an actual nutrition plan that is guaranteed to work regardless of your age, weight, height, gender, dieting preferences, meal frequency, macros, muscle composition, anything like that, you need to prioritize a couple of things. Hydration, sleep, quality sleep, not just laying in bed scrolling on Instagram. Having a variety of proteins, vegetables, fruits, eating a majority of whole foods, practicing mindfulness, and building self-confidence and boosting your how you perceive yourself and how you talk to yourself. That's real nutrition, but unfortunately it's not marketed by marketers and advertisements or celebrities. Instead, it's I intermittent fast and this works, or we want things to be go, 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 and instead it's not. And real nutrition is the non-sexy, boring things. Those, unfortunately, are the ones that are going to guarantee to work. I tried diet after diet, and it wasn't until I just found the plan that worked for me. I started prioritizing sleep. I quit drinking as much alcohol. I got in vegetables at every single possible meal. I started going to bed at like 9 p.m. I worked out every single day, and I really changed my mindset and my stress levels. Did I start seeing the body composition changes that I'd been striving to achieve for years, like absolute years. And it wasn't until my 20s that I was actually able to do so. Unfortunately, in like every aspect of our lives, we understand this concept of having to embrace the grind. Think of it like when you are starting at a job, you're gonna start at an entry-level job and you have to put in the grind. You've got to do things that may not pay off the next day or a week or even a month in, but you know in a year you're gonna get a promotion, or in 2 years you're gonna be building up yourself to and you're gonna get promoted, and you're gonna be climbing up the rings on that ladder. And we do this in our jobs, we do this in our relationships. We understand that, you know, if you meet someone and you really like them, the next day, just because you maybe bought them flowers, you're not gonna be all of a sudden madly in love and married and having kids. You've got to build the foundation first and slowly let those big wins come in once time has allowed them to actually come in. With our nutrition, we're just like, no, we want the results now, we want them now, we need them now, and we're not gonna settle unless we have them now. Think of it like when we're in college. I really like this analogy, but you won't change your major just because you don't have a job. So say you're a freshman in college and you're like, I want to be a doctor. Just because you don't have guaranteed admission to Harvard med school, it doesn't mean that you're like, oh shit, gotta change my major. You don't change your major just because you don't have a job. You don't change, if you changed your major every single semester that you're in college because you didn't have a guaranteed job by the end of that semester, you would never graduate from college because you would never have the right amount of credits for the right amount of classes to actually achieve anything. You would just be in that not deadly, but you'd be in that kind of ongoing cycle that just you're staying in school, you're spending thousands of dollars, a ton of money, you're constantly stressed, and you're never actually achieving anything. But all of us know that that would be incredibly stupid to do in college. Even if, you know, there's been a couple situations, and it happens regularly, where, you know, I remember I had a friend that their senior year as a biochemistry major, she was like, I'm never gonna do biochemistry. Like, she knew she wanted nothing to do with biochemistry. She had two options: finish out her biochemistry major or start from scratch. If she had started from scratch, she'd be dropping a ton more money. She'd have to choose another major, and she wouldn't even have that guarantee that that major would be what she would end up doing for the rest of her life. So instead, she did the smart thing. She stuck with what she knew. She got the major of biochemistry knowing she may not ever use it again. But it gave her a pathway. It gave her some sort of direction, and she was able to just lay the foundation and use that as she graduated to build herself up to a fully functioning career. I myself kind of did this when I was finishing up grad school. I was having a career change. I didn't just quit and start from scratch and say, oh, screw it, I'm not gonna go into research, I'm not gonna go to medical school, I gotta go back to school for nutrition or something like that. Instead, I used my background, the foundation that I had set over the past couple of years, to build myself as a nutrition coach, get certified in that, specialize in it, and create the business that I've created today. We all understand that concept. Unfortunately, though, when it comes to nutrition, we don't accept that possibility. And a lot of it, I think, is due to mindset of where we have to strive for perfection. And if you have an ounce of body fat, if you're not jacked, if you don't feel that you look good naked, then you're not perfect, and therefore that is a flaw. And if you can fix it, then you are all of a sudden better. And we're very built on aesthetics and looks and appearances and first impressions. And we let what people say really determine and define who we are as human beings. We constantly have thoughts of, I'm not enough, and I am not thin enough, I'm not pretty enough. You're letting insecurities take over. And that is how, in my opinion, people end up on this diet hopping cycle, because they're trying to find the quickest diet that is going to remove those feelings of shame, insecurities, you name it. You want these feelings gone as quick as possible, which I don't blame you. I would as well. Unfortunately, you're actually doing the opposite when you're going diet to diet, because you're now drilling in that mentality of you're constantly failing at certain diets. You're not really failing, just in your mindset. If you're trying keto, but you only give it 2 to 3 weeks, well, you failed. Okay, we're gonna try this. Then when you actually find the diet that works for you, you're not gonna give it all you've got, because why would you? How do you even know what diet is even working? How much time do you give it? You don't know any of this stuff anymore. So instead of diet hopping, instead find the diet that actually works for you. Focus on the non-sexy things of nutrition that are guaranteed success. I've already said it before, but I will say it again. Having quality sleep, hydration, a quality variety of proteins, vegetables, fruits, optimizing recovery, getting in exercise, weight training, etc., etc., etc. This is the secret to actually being on a plan. Now, in terms of how long should you give any sort of diet time, how much time should you give it to work? The answer really is, it depends. There is not a given time. If you are following a macro approach, you don't want to make a change in your macros for at least 2 to 3 weeks. You want to give your body 2 to 3 weeks to respond. This is because your body does not change immediately. Our bodies like homeostasis. It likes staying the same. And if you constantly are changing your body's environment, it's never actually going to be able to adapt to make a change. It does not take one day to shed an ounce of fat or a pound of fat. 1 pound of fat has 3,500 calories, meaning you have to burn 3,500 extra calories per week to lose 1 pound of fat per week. Give or take, it's not, exactly that numerical rate, but just goes to show you can't eat in a 3,500 calorie deficit in one day, have an ounce or a pound of fat completely taken off. So when you're following some sort of diet that's putting you in a deficit, which is essentially all a fad diet that works it's not the fad diet itself that's working. Instead, the fad diet itself either increased your food quality, so with like paleo, the Whole30, keto, a lot of the times it just removes processed junk and extra calories out of your diet, and it creates a deficit. It's not the fact that you removed carbohydrates and added fats in your diet. It's not the fact that you fasted for 20 hours that day. It's just that you created a deficit and you're eating less food, and that is creating the deficit you need to burn fat and lose weight. But this process doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And this time really depends on a ton of factors. And why the skill is or is not changing, I've talked about it before, but if you're in a deficit and you're not losing weight, so if you are in a deficit with a fad diet, maybe you're bloated, maybe you're not eating enough fiber, maybe you're really, really stressed, you're dehydrated, or you're overhydrated. These are a number of reasons why the scale may not be reflecting an actual change that is going on in your body. If you're stressed, this is going to be the biggest one, that your body's going to hold on to a ton of water retention, and it's going to lead to a lot of false claims that your diet is not working. It is working. You just have to calm down a little bit. The more you jump from diet to diet to diet, your body never actually gets to adapt, and our body's ability to adapt will determine how we are able to lose weight. So when you go into a deficit, your body needs to eat in that deficit and recognize, okay, we're in a deficit and we need to go into our fat stores so we can keep burning the right amount of fuel. If you don't let your body actually do that process, then it never actually is going to go into those fat stores and burn any of the fat that you want to lose weight from. So when you're hopping diet from diet, you're constantly changing your body's environment, which is constantly stressing your body out, which is causing your body to not lose weight. So if you're on a diet, realistically, you want to give your diet 6 months at least to work. Give or take a little bit. When I take on clients, typically they work for either for 3 or for 6 months, if not longer than that, simply because that's the approach that works. It's the long haul for sure, but it's 3 months or 6 months of a diet that's pretty much guaranteed to work unless there's something weird going on. And then it's worked. I mean, you have to commit to it longer than that, but it's working, versus you've been on a diet hopping trend for the past 20 some years that's never worked. Yes, that 21-day fix could potentially work for 21 days, but is it going to work for 2 years or 3 years or even 5 years or 30 years? The diet that I'm on now, I will be following when I am 45, when I'm 55, when I'm 85, if I make it that far. But that's because I'm on the diet that works for me. It keeps my motivation up. It's a number of factors. That's the diet for me, and that's the diet that works, and it's not some fad diet. So how to find the diet. So signs that a diet is not working for you. Something that you can't see yourself sticking to for the long haul. So like 2 to 5 years. If you can't see yourself sticking to it next year, that's not the diet for you. If you have no energy, if you are injured or you have medical issues, if you are not sleeping, if you have no motivation, no drive, if you're miserable, if you are eliminating a food group not due to an allergy, that is the wrong diet for you, because you're not going to follow that for a long time. It's not sustainable. And you don't have to do that. There's better ways out there to lose weight and have a sustainable nutrition plan than eliminating a food group. Signs that a diet is working is you have energy, you're feeling good in the gym, your confidence is boosting, you do see scale changes or body comp changes. That is, as much as we don't want to use the scale always, or body comp changes, those are 2 really good ways to tell if a diet is or is not working. The reason is because it's going to tell you if you are in a deficit or not in a deficit. When I have clients, they do follow a macro-based approach and I put them in a deficit, we monitor their weight loss. Say they're on a consistent, 1 pound a week weight loss, and then we see they plateau. I'll wait about 2 weeks and make sure that that was indeed a plateau, not just a retention factor. And then I will make adjustments accordingly to put them back into a deficit to keep losing weight and keep that weight loss progress steady. Understand that this is just general for most people. It could take 6 to 8 weeks for you to even see 1 pound lost. This is because most of the time, most people have not treated their bodies super well in a diet. Generally, what we see is the longer you have treated your body kind of like dirt from things like diet hopping or restrictive eating or things like that, the harder it is for your body to let go to that weight, and the more resistant it is going to be to any sort of given diet. Which is why, say you've chronically dieted your entire life and you're only giving a diet 3 weeks to work, your body may need 6 weeks to start and fully trust yourself to actually lose that weight. And if you're not giving yourself those 6 weeks, you're never ever gonna have a diet that works for you, because you're never actually giving it enough time. I had a client, one of my favorite people ever in this world. She was in a cut for 12 weeks. I've written a couple things about this kind of case study and this person, but she was on a diet for 12 weeks. We took like a year. She was with a nutrition coach before me who also took 6 or so months to reverse her up to maintenance, focusing on food quality, you name it, yada, yada, yada. Everything was perfect. We put her in a deficit. She lost maybe 4 or 5 pounds. She wanted to lose a lot more than that. We finished the deficit, reversed her out of it, and she finally was like, oh yes, I feel so good. I made it through a cut. We're gonna do another cut. It's gonna be great. Key of this one is her stress levels went down because she was no longer a cut. We were reversing out of it. She was really thankful to have all that food. her body started dropping weight like crazy. Like she was around like 152 when we started. We finished around like 147. And after the reverse process, getting her back up to maintenance, she dropped down to 138. So we were adding food and she was still losing weight. Because her stress levels were down, her body finally trusted that she was going to be able to lose weight and she's not going to starve her body, etc., etc. And this is the only time this has ever happened. So this isn't something that happens all the time, but it's really just to show you that weight loss takes time, especially when it is the approach that is healthy, sustainable, and appropriate to live a healthy, long-term, and happy life. Don't have to fear food. You do not have to fear a subgroup of food. You don't have to do anything like that. You do not have to fear a normal diet. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, send me an email, happy to answer them. If you are someone who has diet hopped forever, seriously consider working with a coach, because mentally it is very hard to put yourself through this process. Having a coach, such as myself, you remove all types of bias from your diet, and that person is your resource to answer all the questions you need, answer anything you may need, and also talk you off of the many ledges that you are going to run into. Mentally, it is very, very hard to get out of this cycle. The best thing to do is hire someone to help you get out of the cycle. They're gonna do all of the hard work for you. They're gonna keep you accountable, and they're gonna be able to answer the questions. And you're gonna demonstrate. I have a new client right now that has diet hopped for years and was one of the people, and this is really common, that says, I'm gonna do this diet first to lose weight before I work with you. And let him do his thing. Now we're working together and he is feeling we've added a little bit of food. He's already in 2 weeks, he's been traveling. He's seen body comp changes. His scale has dropped and he is feeling really, really good. And this has only been 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously we have a ton more to go, but getting out of that cycle is really hard. And I mean, he needs constant affirmations and reinforcement of you're on the right plan. You don't have to go keto. You don't have to do this crazy diet. You don't have to inject yourself with crazy shit to live a normal, happy life. You just have to eat food. You have to eat whole foods. You've got to sleep. You've got to recover. You have to do all those non-sexy, boring things with nutrition if you want to have a really good and happy life. And you don't have to diet. So if you have any questions, obviously feel free to send me a message. And with that, I will let you go. Have a great weekend.